Hello and welcome to Ringtalk episode 148. We're joined by the Goodwin crew once again. We're at the end of a very, very busy March. 4 shows in 4 weeks.
Might be the end for you. I'm off to Plymouth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, you got Plymouth this weekend. Plymouth this weekend as well. Right, let's first of all, we've got lots to discuss today. We will go on to management, when it's the right time to vacate a title, the reasons behind it and what you can do. So obviously recently we've had William Webber, who's just recently vacated a title. Steve, as a manager, just tell us the thing behind it, because I don't think people understand it. People like to create graphics on Instagram, and it'd just be interesting to put your thoughts across about what a proper manager does.
Right, a proper manager. I learned when I started. I mean, what we got to say is, and I don't say this to just demonstrate why we know more than most, but we do. 47 champions in, world champions, Commonwealth champions, British champions, WBA, WBO, loads of English, loads of Southern area. It speaks for itself, and it's why I am employed by so many boxers. When those sort of graphics go out, you do think, really, do you know what you're talking about? Have you got any idea of what good management is? Because let me go through. When I started off, I learnt the trade. Now, I learnt off some very good people, so I'm not saying I'm self-taught. Mickey Hellier, brilliant man to learn off. Alan Smith, phenomenal man to learn from. Mm-hmm. And Alan Smith taught me so much about titles. So much. I learnt so much from Alan Smith. And he's still down at iBox Gym. He goes... People don't really know him, but he is one of the best strategists in boxing. Yeah. He doesn't manage fighters, right? But he could be the best manager in the country. Yeah. Up there, he could be, right? But I learned from you identify when you're in any walk of life, who has the knowledge and who can you learn from, mm-hmm. Right? Alan Smith is always of the opinion that titles are not for holding; they are for winning, furthering your career, and letting go when necessary. So, in the instance of William Webber, so let me point out straight away, William Webber will fight anybody. It is me that's stopping him fighting somebody, right? Now, so let's put it right. Don't go on there and call him a chicken, because he ain't a chicken, and I actually believe he'd probably win the fight, but it'd be a very tough fight. But I think he beats mm-hmm. the guy that was mandated for him. But I didn't say definitely beats him. I said probably beats him, right? So when you have a fighter that you're developing, William Webber came to us on the back of losing under Matchroom, and he has since been undefeated, and he's still only a very, very young man at 24, mm-hmm. and he still has vulnerabilities as you would at 24. He's nowhere near the finished article, but he's making really good progression. Now, he won the Southern Area title taking on a fellow undefeated boxer. He didn't go for a soft touch. He went for a live opponent. Now, why did he go for a live opponent? Because he wanted to win a Southern Area title, which enhances his career down the line to moving on to other things. So he then beat Max Lovell in a very good fight. He beat him 96-94. It was a really, really good fight. We then tried to make a voluntary defence against somebody that I felt was suitable for a voluntary defence. So that is, when you are doing a voluntary defence, what you are then deciding is, from 2 aspects, does this enhance our career? Yep. Or does it benefit him financially? Yep. And he's still in his favour. If neither or both of those criteria are not met, it doesn't make sense. Now, we couldn't find a suitable voluntary defence. And the board contacted us originally and told us Andre Descalu was the man who was going to box him. We took a view that was a fight that we would explore, and we contacted Andre Descalu's management, and we were in talks. Yep. Whilst we were in talks, we then got another message from the board saying, change of plan, it's not going to be Descalu, it's going to be Ward. Yep. We looked at the Ward situation. Number one, it would fail, and I know Nielsen's would put it on their show, and I'm sure they'd pay him some money or whatever way it goes. But it will fail the financial test, mm-hmm. and it's a very, very hard fight. and a 10 or a guy that's 11 fights into his career, who's already been there, seen there, and done it, to fight a 5-0 kid that doesn't bring any massive financial benefit from to the table, and it doesn't enhance William Webber's career, it's stupid management. This is where people get it wrong. Now, the point is, what we're then looking at is saying, well, look, it fails both tests. And I know we hadn't gone into, and you can say we hadn't gone into money with Nielsen's, but they're not going to pay TV, Matchroom, Frank Warren, Sky money. Then we're not going to get that for it. So consequently, it makes no sense at this particular point in his career. To take Johnny Ward is a quality fighter, so I want to get that out there. So from my point of view, matching William Webber, it fails both tests. If it fails both tests, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I advise my boxer to vacate. And by the way, William Webber would have took the fight. So putting stuff on there to try and say, which is disrespectful to boxers.
It is. I get their point. It's funny for them in terms of that, isn't it?
If you want to put a picture of me up there and say I'm scared or whatever, that's fine. But it isn't the boxer.
No.
It's the manager. If you've got a good manager, it's the manager that makes the decision, not the boxer.
I get that. Like I say, in terms of their thing I said about the graphics, it's quite funny. I understand why they've done it. It's quite good.
But it propels the boxer. But
absolutely,
as I always say, it's not about what we've had this discussion about us as promotional outfits, and we don't cancel shows and we don't do this. It's not always about funny graphics.
Sure.
It's about doing the right job. And but the point of view is, I understand why. Good luck with him when he goes forward with the title. Hope he does well. Hope he wins it. But it is not an insult to boxers. It is being a smart boxing manager. That's why we're at 47 champions. That's why I think we get 48 next Saturday. That's why this summer we'll be on 50 champions, because we know what we're doing. Yeah. And that's why boxers come to us. We will take the difficult decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it's you as a manager that makes the decisions for the boxers. It's not the boxers. Boxers want to fight people. Exactly. And Josh, it comes back to a thing that we always talk about in the office and we always band about is you never want to fight an English level fighter for a Southern Area title. You want it the other way round, and you never want to fight a British level fighter for an English title. Like, that is number one stupidity to do that in terms of a manager career.
Yeah, no, exactly. Also, why would you want to use a fighter's only got so many hard fights in their locker to go through their career? Why would you have one of them in the Southern Area when there's big opportunities ahead? And I'm sure there'll be some good news announced for him soon. So, but why would you use one of them up at that low level for probably not very good money?
Absolutely.
What's the point? It's just crazy.
Absolutely. So Steve, I know you want to address that first of all. So that kind of puts, and I think it isn't talked about a lot, obviously, is how much the manager does make the decisions for the boxer in terms of those. What should happen in that situation?
Not all boxers let the managers have decisions, but we're fortunate that the vast majority of our boxers do listen to us, to me, and what they help us make decisions. There are times when boxers don't listen, but it normally 90% goes wrong for them. So if boxers can put their faith in us, I think our resume speaks for itself.
The good thing about it as well, though, at least you've got people talk about Southern Area. Southern Areas are great titles.
Fantastic.
The fighters that fight for them are great. They tend to be the ones that are on the small hall or non-TV shows. They're up and down the country. They're great fights, so it's good that people are talking about the Southern Areas. Right, let's go on to the Predictions League. So we did the Predictions League a couple of weeks ago now, because we didn't do a ring talk last week, for Dennis Denijek versus Tom Ansell. Josh got it wrong. We got it right, but got it wrong. He picked Denijek by stoppage. Me and you, Steve, picked by points. I can't remember who else emailed in and said the thing, so I will put the graphic on the screen as we speak now, so we can see who's top of the league. I think it's John Bailey still, and Stephen Tiffin I think is up there as well. We're changing the Predictions League slightly. We won't be doing a ring talk every week at the moment due to other things being busy, so we are going to put the Predictions League out on socials rather than just on ring talk when we don't have a ring talk. If we have a ring talk, the prediction will be within ring talk. If we don't have a ring talk, it will be out on social.
And we're going back to how we collate it.
And we're changing the way we enter. We realise that people emailing in is more difficult for people, so we're going to come back to, if you comment on either of the official Goodwin Boxing socials, then your vote is counted. So comment on Instagram, comment on Facebook, or replying and tag this in on Twitter. that will count and we'll collate it that way. We understand that emailing becomes more difficult for people. So the predictions league for this week, we're going for
Joshua Franklin
versus Franklin. Yeah, AJ versus Franklin. So, gentlemen, let's start with you, Steve. I'm going to go with you first because I normally go to Josh first. How are you seeing it?
Well, I think as a fight, everybody's making a lot over the Jermaine Franklin Dillian White fight. Right, okay, I take the view Dillian White is on the slide, and we've seen the best Dillian White, and I don't think Dillian White is the same anymore. So I think he's on every boxer, and it's not an insult to Dillian because I think he's been amazing how he's come through the small hall. But I think that the fight flatters Jermaine Franklin. Now the question really is, does Joshua stop him or does he win on points? That's my opinion. And I think the vast majority will go for a stoppage, and it could well be, and I'm sort of torn. But I also think you could find a Joshua that if he doesn't get him out early, becomes a little bit like he was in the second Andy Ruiz fight. So, listen, I don't know. I'm going to go for Joshua on points.
Okay. Josh.
KO.
You're going KO?
Joshua, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Joshua by knockout.
And I think most people will. But I'll probably lose some ground this week, but I'm going
maybe. Yeah,
we'll see how we go.
Unless Franklin wins, then we're all knackered. So Joshua versus Franklin is the fight we're putting up predictions league this week. Comment on Instagram, comment on Facebook, comment on Twitter. Got to be on the official Goodwin Boxing handles for to be able to your vote to be counted. If you haven't entered already, still time to catch up. People aren't way out in front. Don't forget, those that finish above us three in the league will get tickets to one of our June shows. So make sure
September shows, because we won't finish till July.
September shows yet, because we won't finish till July. So get a think. Right, so we've got a couple of shows to review. We've had 2 Goodwin Boxing shows since our last Ring Talk. We'll go back first. We'll go back to GB Fight Series 15. Great show. Top of the bill was the one on Predictions League. Dennis Denijek versus Tom Ansell. Dennis Denijek defending his Southern Area super lightweight title. Fantastic fight.
Going to me or Steve-O?
I was going to go to Steve and then he looked at you, so I'll come to you.
Brilliant fight. Tom came out and I turned to him from the old man and said, Jesus, Tom's improved a lot since I last saw him. I think Dennis felt a bit too comfortable in there in the first 2 rounds and then got dropped quite heavy in the second. So great shot by Tom. Then Tom I thought he won the third. But I had him one up after 5. Then I had Dennis winning every round after that. Mm-hmm. The 10th was close, but 6-9 it was all one way. Dennis started boxing really well at that point. Yeah. Then he obviously won on points. Obviously, Team Ansell thought they won and claimed robbery online and etc. I don't see that personally. I've not spoken to a single person.
Neither did anyone else. No,
who had Tom winning.
Well, you would have said Tom's fans, but
I'm talking boxing people that we speak to. Not a single person ringside said they to me they thought Ansell won.
Nor boxing news or anyone like that. Yeah.
No. But it was a really good fight.
Great fight.
For me, it was one of those strange fights. It was a close-ish fight, but quite a clear and obvious winner.
Sure.
It's one of those ones.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that? Just going to butt in. From Tom's perspective, I really like Tom.
Yeah.
And I really hope he wins a title, right?
He's definitely good enough to win a title, and that performance as well is improved.
But if you go away in your heart and you believe you won a fight that you didn't win, that doesn't help you.
Sure.
Because you've got to think, I did lose that fight. Why did I lose it? How can I correct it? If you believe in your heart you won a fight that you didn't win, that doesn't help you. But going forward, I just think that I actually want to see Tom win a title. So sorry for butting in. Sorry, carry on.
That's all I finished now.
Yeah, finished. The interesting thing I find about it, I want to talk about your opinions on this. And this isn't just Tom, this is just generally, you see this a lot. And it kind of annoys me a little bit, and I want to talk about it. You always see this, in a 50-50 fight, on a title fight and anything else like that, there's always going to be one home boxer and one away boxer. There's always this thing where people go, oh, well, we lost because we was in the away corner. Now, although I also think that's almost saying that referees are biased. It's a roundabout way of saying that the judging's biased. Let's cut to the chase. That's what people are saying.
What I would say is, if you're not sold a single ticket and you've got somebody who's got 200 screaming fans that are screaming about every punch that's might not landed or has landed, subconsciously you're going to think, oh, he's doing really well. it's a bias that I don't think you can get rid of in boxing.
Unless you have the judges in a studio somewhere.
Exactly. Especially with Southern Everton, the referee is the judge.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any bias intentionally. But if there was like somebody sold 200 versus someone who sold none, then I agree there could be some potentially some
Influenced by the crowd. But when both sold us...
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
They both sold tickets. They both had people cheering. I don't think there'd been any that bias there. I don't see how there could have been. I don't think we tend to get some biased home decisions that you see elsewhere around the world, especially on our shows. I personally don't think so. I think we've had some decisions that I thought we want to go against us. So so you can't complain. But they're all, if they're close fights, you can go a different way.
But there's this thing. So surely then, when you send a boxer away, you have to factor that into your. So then why? Then the question is, if you think you're going to lose the points decision, then why are you sending your boxer away? Because surely that would come. If you think to yourself, right, if we don't knock him out, we're going to lose. Then surely it's a crazy fight to make. Do you agree?
Yes.
If you think it's biased, if you think
if for example you're going to an area where your boxer's travelling a long way and you're getting very, very little support, I remember going back many, many years ago, I took Mene Edwards for an English title up north to fight Matty Askin in Blackpool.
Yeah.
It was for the English title. It was raucous up there. It was rammed, the Winter Gardens. It was, everybody was supporting.
Sure.
And he could have done anything and the cheers were there. It's very difficult for referees in that situation. They're seeing, they're probably from that area anyway. They are hearing all the crowd cheering for the home fight. It's very difficult psychologically for the refs. And I think, for the judges. And I think it's very difficult. So you do have to build that in, and that has to be. I think we know that, don't we? And it's even the same when you put a fighter in on a big promoter's show. It's very similar, but you have to sometimes evaluate why. Going back to the first two questions, does it further the career, or is it the right move for the career, and are they financially rewarded? And but generally what you're saying, you have to take that in track, but. In a London fight with two London Southern area boxers, it really doesn't matter who's in home and away corner.
But also what I always think is, referee A is refereeing a Goodwin Boxing or franchisee show, whatever you want to call it. Why are they going to give B-bias to our fighter? We give them their payment, and you pay their expenses, but you're not putting up in nice hotels. You're not picking up in nice cars. Yeah. You're not giving them any special treatment. They literally turn up, do the show, and go home again.
Yeah.
What incentive have they got to give a robbery decision our way? If you think about it logically, there isn't any.
No, I agree. That's one thing that, like I say, annoys me a little bit about it. I understand the point. Like I say, if you go somewhere and you haven't sold any tickets, it's easy to be influenced. We're all human. We can do stuff like that. In that fight, and I'll just use that one as an example, Ansel probably sold more tickets than Dennis. Probably had more support there. So then, so then if you think that then it's not that, then basically... what these people are saying when they say that is they're basically saying the refs are biased. And that's quite a damning statement, I think, for referees leading there. And you think to yourself, well, if you pass it off as, we lost because we was in the away corner.
It was Lee Every that ref.
And I think
and I'm not necessarily talking about that one in
particular,
but you see it a lot all the time.
I want to big up Lee Every, by the way. I think you look back at Lee Every's, and I've watched Lee Every judging for a long time. I cannot remember, and I'm sure there'll be one, but I cannot remember Lee Every not giving a decision to somebody when they should get it. Never. And in my opinion, I think he's a brilliant ref, a fair ref. And I think he called this right. In fact, I had the fight slightly wider than Lee Every. So,
but this is a great summary. I was speaking, obviously, when I'm going to go to Bifil 1 on Saturday.
Yeah.
He went, I couldn't believe it. Kieran McCann gave me the decision. I went, what? He went, you can't get anything off him. I was like, for me, he's probably one of the most fair judges in this area. He went, yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Yeah.
But obviously, people's natural reaction against any referee is that they're biased against them. And then as soon as you said it to him and he thought about it, he's like, actually, no, it's fair.
Yeah.
So it just shows you.
I do think that's like, it's because it's easy, isn't it? It's like blaming the government. It's easy to go, the referee. It's just an easy thing. Come back to what you were talking about before as well. Is I think if you easily pass it off as it's just the referee, you don't necessarily look at what's gone wrong, and then you can't make improvements. But it was
I just want to say one other thing. Southern area, and I want to praise the Southern area here. I think we've got the best bunch of referees generally on the whole, and I'm not talking about the A-stars, I'm talking about the referees that referee at small level. I think we have got the best team of referees in the country.
Yeah.
So that's it.
I also think refereeing is a very, very difficult very autistic thing to do, especially trying to ref a fight and judge a fight as well. I think it's very difficult. I think they're very underappreciated referees, and I think they do a very, very hard job.
Yeah.
But it was a fantastic fight. Tom will come back again. Dennis will go on to bigger and better things. It was just a great fight, and both played a fantastic part in that. Also on the card, so we had the Southern Area Super Featherweight?
Super
Bantamweight. Peter Merger versus Ryan Walker. Fantastic fight. Obviously, repeat or revenge. Walker and Merger fought before. Walker come out on top the first time round. It was Merger's night this night. He picks up Southern Area, comes 47th champion. Great fight, Steve.
Yeah, now he does definitely move on to bigger and better things. I mean, this was a fight that we made. We were confident that we would win the rematch. On the first fight, we weren't managing Peter Merger. But this time, I felt, by the way, I have a lot of respect for Ryan Walker. He's took a lot of hard fights and been in with a lot of good people. But this was what I considered to be smart management again. I think we were picking Ryan Walker at the right time.
Yep.
He'd had, as Josh pointed out earlier, there's only so many hard fights you have. And Ryan's had a lot of hard fights since he fought Peter Merger. Peter's fresh, willing and able. And we thought this was the right time. So to make that fight, we thought that was smart management. And we were very, very confident we won that fight. Made the fight. He dropped Ryan in the first round. And he won the fight. It was always competitive, but it was never close, if you know what I mean. He was always rounds ahead.
Yeah.
And it went basically the way that I thought it would.
Yeah, fantastic. Josh, same opinion?
Yeah, I missed the first one, which was quite a heavy knockdown.
Yeah.
Walker, wasn't it?
Walker done great. He must have been in great shape. Sorry, Josh. He must have been in great shape to come back, because it was a heavy knockdown.
Yeah, I didn't say, but Judge, you two both said the same thing. But yeah, he won the middle rounds definitely. Then I think Merger might have tired a little bit, but other than that, yeah. Again, another close but clear winner.
And come back to what we talked about before as well. Southern Area is a great fight. Talk about Dennis Lenjak, Tom Mansell fight, the Peter Merger, Ryan Walker fight. Southern Area fights. If you haven't seen a Southern Area fight, if you watch this podcast, you probably have, because you've probably been to one of our shows. But if you haven't, if there's a Southern Area on any card, go along to it. They tend to be amazing fights. They're really undersold.
Another one coming this week, but we're talking
another one coming this week, which we'll come on to. So well done to Peter Merger. Like I say, he goes on to bigger and better things. So that will be interesting for him. So keep an eye out for what happens for Peter. We'll just run through the card. George Hennan, he stopped Iliana Markov. Great performance from George Hennan. Big things coming for him soon. Good performance for him, Josh?
Yeah, he was brilliant. I think which always confuses me, though, is him and his trainer both called George, but yeah. George has trained George really well. Yeah, he's done a great job. And I don't know who's in better shape, George or George. So
yeah.
Can I say that when I first saw George Mahani, and you see he's a young man, right? And I'm thinking, okay.
With the flowing locks.
So I'm thinking, he doesn't look like a traditional boxing trainer. And but he's done an amazing job. And again, George Hennan is vastly improved. He's getting powerful, stronger. And you've got to say, George O'Mahony could be a rising training star.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job. And George Hennan as well. Very professional team. You don't have any hassle from them. You give them the fight date. They turn up. They're on weight. They're in good shape. Don't pull out. So, yeah, fantastic for George. He'll go on for bigger and better things. Hopefully hearing something from him soon, possibly, depending on how
I've been trying to do something. I thought I'd done a deal for something, but that's sort of delayed, so I'm going to look at something else. But yeah, so at the moment I'm having a look for George, the Southern Area and the English titles are at the moment sewn up because Dennis has a mandatory to deal with, and so the English is obviously Lucas Ballingall and whatever. So but we are going to navigate around that. So we're working on something at the moment. I'll be speaking to them over the weekend.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for George Hennan. Jerome Campbell versus Daryl Tatfuma. That was a fantastic fight. Jerome Campbell obviously out for a little while. First time he came back, coming against a live opponent. Daryl Tatfuma comes to win. Always tries hard. Always throws bombs. From the first minute they went at it. Good performance for Jerome, considering his ring rust. Josh.
Yeah, Daryl gives most people nightmares that you see. Thought Jerome boxed really well at points. Ring had been out for a long time. Yeah, he's definitely got some titles in him.
Good matchmaking for that for you, Steve. You matched that fight, and
There was no point. There was no point Jerome having a journeyman that covered up. I wanted to see. I mean, Jerome is itching to go for titles, and I wanted to see, you know, in my opinion, which I will discuss with Jerome because we're meeting up with him next week, where we think he's at and the timescale. That fight was to give me, in my mind, the correct timescale.
Yeah.
So that was good.
It was good. Definitely bigger things for Jerome to come in the future. Good to see him back. Also on the card, we had Chucky Khan. He fought George Roberts. Another comfortable performance. We've talked about Chucky a few times in the fact that he's improving, constantly getting better. It's just a nice performance from him. Nothing spectacular to talk about, but just comfortable, always in control.
Yeah, Chucky. He didn't have the greatest build up to the fight for various reasons. But yeah, he's boxed really well. Barely got hit. Won on points. Can't really ask for much more. He's another winner along, and I think again, title's definitely in his future. Yes,
it's just the question I was going to ask you, Steve. How far does Chucky go? Let's say he's constantly improving, gradually doing building him up under the radar almost.
I think what's important when you're looking at a fighter, I look at it in stages because I think there's too many silly claims made about fighters being British level when they haven't even won a Southern area.
Sure.
And I think that's just typical boxing bullshit. But from my point of view, what you've got to say is the question number one is can you win a Southern area title? The answer is yes. Can he win an English title? Well, let's get the Southern area out of the way and see how he looks. Because as you raise up in levels, it tells you more. He's definitely got a good skill set, but at the moment, I'm not going to make silly claims because it's fruitless and it's silly. But at the moment, he has shown enough to me. But he's still got to develop. We haven't seen him stamina-wise yet. We haven't seen a lot of things. So he's definitely got the talent, and what he's shown so far is, Southern area. And we've got to get him settled outside the ring, and being able to move on. So I think that realistically, when you're looking at it, back end of this year, early part of next year, we should be hopefully in a position to look at titles.
Yeah, it's a good performance for Chucky. Like I say, change of trainers in the build up, so that affected it slightly. Ellis Stewart, he fought Fernando Valencia. Again, Ellis very very early in his career. Fernando Valencia, a very tough guy. We knew it was a good opponent for Ellis. We knew he could tee off on him a little bit, but also knew he wasn't going to stop him. So it was a great performance.
He's through though. Valencia. He comes through.
Yeah, absolutely. He does. He comes to ask questions. That's why we thought it was a good fight. Again, progressing nicely. Josh, how you'd expect Ellis to progress at this level of his career?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've said this before, but I think you look at Ellis, he's got all the attributes to be a very good boxer. Quick hands, can punch, can move. He's got a good trainer in his dad, a good camp with Linus and Brad and a few others. But you can sometimes see he had limited amateur experience. That's why you've got to bring him along slowly. But I really think if Ellis keeps improving like he is now, I think he'd go really far.
Yeah, and that's the same, just as Josh said there, Steve. For Ellis, just take the time, slowly build, no real rush, no mad call-outs.
This is what's required. Good, well, you know he's going to get good training, so that's a gimme. So then it's down to the manager. And the good thing about Terry Stewart and they do let me get on with my job and make decisions. So between us, I'm sure I'm 100% sure we'll do the right thing, and he will be brought along at the right pace.
Yeah, so it was a good performance for Ellis. Congratulations on that. We had Ahmed Hatim again. He fought that Rustin Falkuhulihun, whatever his name is. Great performance from Ahmed. He's improving all the time. It's a great fight that for him come to really fight, really throw tough Russian guy. I think he is. Excellent performance from Hatim. Did you see that one, Josh?
No, I didn't actually. That's the one I did miss.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I saw it. It was exactly what he wanted. He wants to move on to a 10-rounder. So he needed a fight. He needed somebody who was going to stand there with him because he's very talented, is Ahmed. He's managed by Mickey Amu, my good friend who was over in America. They didn't get the result they wanted at the weekend with Richard Comey. But Ahmed is definitely a star in the making in the UK. And, we're helping him, as we do with all Mickey's fighters, move on. So hopefully get a good fight for him in June, and that's where we're heading.
He's definitely one to watch. Also, we had Mikey Webster Kane. Mikey Weber Kane. I keep saying Webster, but it's Weber Kane on the show, managed by George Graham Everett. Great performance from Mikey. I think he is a little gem. I think he's a good, aggressive, come forward fighter. Brought some good fans from, I think it's Great Yarmouth. He come all the way up, so it's a, he brings a coach load of fans up as well. But good performance.
I didn't actually see that one, but his fans do hold a grudge.
They hold a grudge.
I had a few people come up to me and went, yeah, we're here, we didn't break down this time. You lot are brutal, you didn't even give us time to get here. It broke down, I was like, we have a running order, we have to stick to it.
That's it. They did, as we said before, he was on our show last time, the coach broke down, we wasn't sure if we couldn't hold it, we couldn't move the running order, we wasn't sure if they got there in time, but he had a better slot this time, but good performance from
they had time to break down and still get there.
Yeah, they did this time. But it was a good performance, great to have him on, his fans are great, they have a great atmosphere, good manager in Graham Everett, but yeah, good little...
Back out in June as well.
Yeah, back out in June, so definitely one to watch. Good aggressive style, very fan friendly if you haven't seen Weber Kane, so definitely come and see him. We had Ronnie Morlock on the show. He had Michael Mooney, managed by Ryan Barrett, brought some good support with him. Routine performance from Ronnie, didn't really do too much wrong, controlled Michael from the
Michael was delighted, he won a round.
Yeah, won a round, didn't he? Yeah, so it's a good fight though, so Ronnie, I'm sure we'll see more of him in the future. Definitely. And we had Yusuf Kamaru who jumped on as a late notice. He fought Cruz Perez. Good first round stoppage for Yusuf Kamaru. Cruz Perez didn't look like he knew where he was, in terms, it just looked a bit scatty from the start, didn't he? But Yusuf jumped all over him from the start.
Yeah. We don't manage Yusuf anymore, but he's a very talented fighter. Needed to get out, so we've done him a favour. I think things at Reece Pelosi next, and that's a really good fight.
Yeah, really good fight. So good to have him on the show. So we roll forward to this weekend just gone. We're filming this on the Monday, so this happened on Saturday. GB Fight Series 16, the last one for March in London. Let's talk through the card. We'll go from, just as a running order, so we had Darren Seeley versus Phil Williams. Obviously I wasn't there, so I can't comment on any of these, so I'm relying on you two heavily on this. Daryl Seeley versus Phil Williams, that was a heavyweight contest to start off with. The away boy Phil Williams runs away 39-37 with the thing. What was the fight like? What was Darren's performance like?
The scorecard was spot on.
Okay.
Darren looks apart, 6'9". I think he looks physically imposing, but didn't use any of his attributes. Didn't really throw much. Let Phil come into him too easy. Just didn't really throw much, and Phil just outworked him really. Apart from the last round, Darren done a lot better and won that round. But other than that, he just didn't use any of his advantage, which I was a bit disappointed in. But yeah, he's definitely got to go away, look at that, and think what to do next. In my opinion.
Steve, was it maybe nerves of a debut? Can get something?
I did ring Darren yesterday, and I missed him. Then he rang me back, and I was out. So I'm going to catch up with him today. But he didn't throw. If you don't throw punches, you're not going to win a boxing match. But in the last round, he did, and Phil outworked him for the first 3 rounds, and then he started throwing in the last round. He won it, but he just didn't throw. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. Maybe the occasion got to him, but he's not going to win a boxing match if he doesn't throw. He let his hands go. That's
what can happen sometimes with a 4-rounder, isn't it? In terms of you can easily 1 or 2 rounds could quickly get away from you, and then all of a sudden you've only got 2 rounds to do it. That can happen. I always know. I'm friends with Adam Booth. I know Adam Booth doesn't like 4-rounders whenever he has a new fight. For that same reason, he says a good journeyman can nick around, a good journeyman can draw around. Then all of a sudden you're in round 3 and you're in potential. I think that's. For most, I think 4 is the right thing to do when you debut, and I think 6 is too many for a debut. But there's only 4 rounds. It can quickly get away from you. I'm sure Darren will be back. I'm sure he'll learn from it. Obviously, you'll catch up with him this week. Steve, a good win for Phil Williams on the road. I'm sure he was delighted. I haven't seen his Facebook status, but I'm sure Phil would have done a Facebook status about it. So well done, Phil. It was good for you. And unfortunately, Darren, you'll come back again. Darren, we'll see you again. Mike Murphy. Another one, and it can be proved that you can turn around. Mike Murphy in his debut lost to Jordan Granham, come out again this time. Josh Cook won every round from the scorecard, 40-36. Good performance from Mike.
Yeah, he's incredibly fit. He didn't stop moving or throwing something the whole time. I mean, even Dave Evans said, "Jesus, he's fit," and he said that about 10 times to me. Yeah, he just completely outworked him. Didn't stop throwing, and when you throw that many punches, it's always going to be. Everyone's always going to struggle to win because you just got to try and outwork them. But he came through, Dave's done a good job with him and Jim. Yeah, he won.
Big rematch in June.
He's got Jordan Graham again.
Yeah.
But
He wants to right or wrong in June.
So how many times do we see it where a prospect loses their debut and then they never fight again? Credit has to be given to Mike Murphy. Not once did he say think about giving up. He wanted another fight date. We got him another fight date. Went straight back in, sold his tickets. Now reverse it right. It can be proven. We talk about it all the time. One loss doesn't define the career. Even if it's in your debut, you can right the wrongs. You can go back, and it's a big experience going from the amateurs to a professional show. It's completely different, isn't it, Steve?
Totally. And I always say to a debut, somebody will rave about a kid on his debut, and I go, you're not going to see it on his debut. You're very unlikely to see it. If we see a debut come out and show a lot of attributes, we are wowed by that, right? Because it's not the norm. No matter how good they are, it's never going to come out. Very rarely come out on the debut. Very rarely.
Yeah. Albano Jr., he fought Casey Bradnam. Good fight. How did the performance go?
It's a really good fight. I mean, we don't manage Albano. He's with Andy Gill. We manage Andy Gill's gym, but we don't manage Albano. But I was he got caught a lot. Casey caught him quite a lot, and he's a very, very talented young fighter, and he's got a lot of attributes, but he needs.
Also, Casey is better than an average.
Sure,
average
for sure. But he was going to look good and flashy, throwing. He was leaving himself wide open, so he needs a lot of tightening and a lot of work.
But yeah, he has quick hands. You can see he's got a lot of skill there.
Only in his career as well. I think it was his third fight, wasn't it?
So listen,
in his career.
I think he's got an immense amount of talent, but he's one that needs time.
Timon Duglin versus Rob Parry. Supposedly, unfortunately, we didn't film this show this weekend, but supposedly one of the best.
Not supposedly, it was incredible.
The best 4-round fight anyone's ever seen.
You could put that in any show and you'd be entertained the whole time.
So talk us through the fight. Again, if you haven't seen it, you can't see it, unfortunately. That's why you have to buy a ticket to be there. But Timon Duglin versus Rob Parry, just an all-out war. Talk us through it.
I'd say Timon came out like an absolute madman.
Timon came out like a madman.
Yeah, absolute madman. Just absolutely started throwing haymakers from I think the first punch he threw was a big right hand. He hurt him quite early on, put him down. Got back up and Timon put him back down again. Then they started trading. Timon took a big left hook. Then he replied with the same shot. It was just an absolutely amazing first round.
It was the Hagler Hearns of Goodwin Boxing.
Was it? Just a great fight.
And then the second round came out. So Timon overall probably dominated the first round, but there was some big punches landed by both.
But 2 knockdowns. Parry went down twice in the first round.
Down twice in the first round. And the second round, they all trading. I thought Parry might have just nicked that one, but it was they were just standing there hitting each other as hard as they could. It was a really for me that was the closest round of the fight. And then the third round, it was similar, but the pace slowed, and I thought Timon won it. And then the fourth round slowed a little bit more, but they were still trading bombs. And then Timon came out 1 on points, but honestly, it was the first 2 rounds especially were unbelievable.
Steve, so obviously it was a tougher fight for Timon. I know you wanted more of a thing for Timon to show his skills. Did you see it going as mad as it did?
I didn't want to fight like that, but Timon's a really great guy. He works. He does a lot of work with. I do want to say this, but he does a lot of work with kids that are going down the wrong path to, help them and give his experiences. And what he's doing in life is wonderful. So full hats off to Timon. Mm-hmm. But as he says, he's 31, 32. So we've got to get a move on, and it's not an easy weight category to match. So we really had to give him a test, and Parry came to win. But I've got confidence in him. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think we can really move on by the end of the year and be really ready coming towards nicking some titles. And I've got a lot of respect for him. But I said to him afterwards, well done. He said that wasn't very good because obviously he's been told off by his corner for what was
for engaging in a war.
Yeah,
I think he could have made a lot. When he kept along and threw the jab and kept it at his distance, he was quite comfortable. But it was when he started the trading, he allowed Parry back in. So you could see Timon had a lot more to offer than in terms of boxing ability, but he just kept trying to fucking hurt him. That's the way to describe it.
Fighters want to fight sometimes and they can't help it. No matter how much you tell them, they just want to fight.
It was incredible. Hats off to both Timon, Parry, amazing.
So those that were there, you were treated to an absolute war. So well done about that. William Webber versus Pal Garage. Obviously, we talked about William Webber vacated. Obviously, William now goes on to other things. We're looking at the different things in the pipeline for him. Good performance from Wills. Obviously, it was a close fight, wasn't it? So what happened in the fight?
I think Will had one of those weeks where he was on the show, off the show.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound horrible, but I think that might have showed a little bit.
Yep.
Didn't seem fully up for it, fully on it, and he should be winning every round in those sort of fights, and he didn't. So you've got to improve from there. But again, he didn't have a great build up.
Yeah, that will have effect. Let's talk about that because people wouldn't know that. Obviously, at first we thought he was on the show, then obviously the opponent pulled out, then we thought he was off the show.
So what happened was, and I'd agree with Josh, that wasn't, and I'm sure he would look back and say it wasn't his greatest performance. But you've got last weekend he was fighting a guy called Krajewski who got cut and got 28 days, and we couldn't match him. There were no super middleweights around that would fight him, because obviously it's going to be easier to, if you've got to spare 2-0, it's easier to match. But there were none. There were just none around at that point. And what happened, I think it was Thursday, was Ollie Edwards was on our card and he pulled off injured. And his opponent was then spare. So William Webber, who wasn't boxing, was then boxing on Thursday. So he'd spent 4 days probably thinking he wasn't boxing.
Yeah.
Then he's boxing. That's no good preparation for a fighter, but I pay full credit for him for doing it, getting in the ring. But there is no doubt that something like that would have an impact. And I'd agree with Josh, he wasn't as sharp as normal, but that's not...
it's understandable. Still got the win, still does moves on, doesn't it? Still builds on his career. And like I say, it must be immensely difficult on, off all the time, building up for a date, then you're off, then you're back on. So well done to Wills to come back. He's definitely bigger fights in the future. Then to round off the card, Linus Shedovia versus Robbie Chapman. Linus is a comeback fight just to keep him busy. He's definitely got bigger and better things. Good performance from Linus?
Yeah, at points. He definitely could see he had a bit of ring rust. He hasn't fought since, was it May last year?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he does what Linus does, doesn't really get hit. I think I'd like to see a bit more work rate from Linus, but other than that, he done everything perfect. Shaked off the ring rust, hope to have some big fights soon.
So, same assessment, Steve?
Exactly the same. And now we needed that because I couldn't just keep leaving him while we're in the middle of negotiations. Negotiations resume at 1 o'clock today.
Yep.
And we will be looking over the next week to get the right fight in the right place at the right time. That number one furthers his career, and number two rewards him financially. You know the two rules?
Yeah.
Same applies to Linus.
And also credit's got to be given to Linus. No problems coming back. He didn't want to sit out and wait for negotiations. Wanted to keep busy. Wanted to come back on our show to keep busy. Great credit for that. Was no way you go about it. No, he's been on Wasserman shows. He's been on Matchroom shows. He's been on David Hayes shows. Had no issue saying, I don't want to wait that long. I want to get back out. Can I jump back on your show? Sold his tickets. Great credit for that. There needs to be more professionals that take a leaf out of Linus' book for that.
Professional.
Absolutely. No issues whatsoever. Help promote him. So well done for Linus. He goes on to bigger and better things. Hopefully news of that soon, as Steve said that. I think that wraps up the card for GB Fight Series 16. Looking ahead to this weekend, there's a Jack Greenstar Promotions down in...
Oh, sorry. Did any of you... sorry, I just want to hear your opinions on this. Have you seen the back and forth last week between Hennan and Shalom?
No.
Well,
Tell us more. Tell us now.
So, so there's... Obviously, Lawrence Curley's been slating Hearn off. Hearn's sort of been slating Curley off. I like to say Hearn's been come across quite well recently. But anyway...
He always has done, don't you think, that when he concentrates, Hearn can come across well?
Yeah, no, that's fair. But obviously, no DAZN's on Sky now. It's got Sky's channel.
DAZN's got a Sky channel?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
429.
Yeah.
But it's not part of the Sky network.
No, but it's the same as BT Sports or anything like that.
Okay.
But Ben Shannon, I thought was hilarious, compared it saying it's similar to like Babe Station, Box Nation and Premier Sports. What he hasn't realised is I realised what people said after is that Box Nation doesn't no longer exist. So, and then her sort of clapped back at Box having no international rights really, and then Box then spat out loads of tweets retweeting all their foreign broadcasters. So it's been quite funny to follow, which I don't usually listen to Watchmen in interviews, but it was quite funny.
What do we think about that? And just quickly, I know we've got a lot to go through now, this is running on, but what do we think about that when we see two, probably the most high profile, obviously throw Frank Warren in there.
No.
You think they're the two high profile?
Yeah.
I suppose they're the biggest two at the currently. Frank obviously up there, but maybe a little bit lower if you're that. But what do we think for boxing to see those two arguing like that on Twitter? Do we think it's funny? I think good for the sport? I think people can overanalyze it sometimes.
I think it's funny. Obviously, you don't see the likes of Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola doing interviews slagging each other off.
No.
The thing at boxing, I remember a few years ago we were on the train to Liverpool and we bumped into Eddie, and we were walking with him up the station chatting, but he got stopped for a photo every 45 seconds, and it's probably then I realised actually how famous he was as a person. And I said to him, "You're actually more famous probably 95% of your boxers," and he said, "Yeah, no, it sometimes gets a bit awkward when if I'm with a fighter and they're asking me and not them." Yeah. So you could argue that they try and push their personality more than some of their fighters sometimes, but yeah, I think they should sometimes try and direct it back to the fighters rather than the promoters arguing. I think would be a fair assessment. Yeah. Steve, same sort of opinion for you?
I was more intrigued by the Simon Jordan Eddie Hearn thing.
I haven't seen that either.
That was great.
Was it good?
That was great.
Did it answer any questions?
Not really.
Okay.
But what was good was Simon Jordan was letting rip, and it was a proper interview. It wasn't.
But he wasn't well prepped, Simon Jordan.
No, I think he didn't. He had a lot of misinformation. I think it's fair, but he was actually grilling him.
Really, he had loads of misinformation. That's not great.
He didn't pull up Hearn on some of his comments. He put bare that which I thought were incorrect, and some of the obvious questions I don't think he asked.
But it was still very good. But yeah, it was true. But obviously there's a personal issue between them, and apparently in between the breaks they started insulting each other all the time. Spence Oliver said it was quite bad in the breaks. And then they go back on, and you can see that so it was actually quite interesting because it's obviously personal. Whereas Eddie would normally do interviews with people that want another interview, and they're doing it so they take it easy with him. So it was quite interesting from that perspective. But anyway,
I thought Hearn handled it really well considering the position they were in.
He's very good. He's very good in front of the camera.
Simon Jordan should have done better and got more out of him.
Fair enough. Yeah, Hearn is very good in camera. Okay, so rather than the Jack Green one, let's talk about the AJ fight. It makes more sense now as we're talking about Hearn and stuff. Obviously, got AJ. Frankly, I know we talked about it before. We talked a little bit before. Is it good to see AJ back? Or is the AJ train?
Look, I'm not a person that will follow fighters just because they love them. I like fighters that are in good fights. For me, it's not a great fight. I think AJ wins comfortably, whether he knocks out or points.
I agree.
Yeah, I will watch it because I don't think I'm doing anything Saturday. Yeah. But other than that, yeah.
I won't be watching it.
No, you're down in Plymouth.
I'm down in Plymouth. I'm watching a better fight.
Yeah. Obviously, Felix Cash is on the card as well. I don't know much about the matchroom.
They're lining up Felix Cash to fight Ammo Williams. Ammo Williams is being given the traditional British sacrificial lamb in River Wilson Bent, who's been there but gets to a certain level. So he's going to showcase and demolish River, and Cash will win his title, and they'll set up for a big fight, a mega fight.
It's a good fight. That's a really good fight. Yeah, that is a really good fight. I agree with Josh on that. So let's go on to the Jack Greenstar Promotions down in Plymouth.
Doing a good job down in Plymouth, Jack and his team.
Doing a good job down there. Obviously, you've got a lot of fighters on the card. Jack is the one that's running forward the Plymouth now, doing a great job down there, as you said. Top of the bill, Constantine Ursu versus Matthew King for the Southern Area welterweight title. Constantine Ursu, we've talked about in the title, very, very talented. Shown ability at times. This is the time he's got to show it. Matthew King is no mug, and it's going to be a really, really good fight.
We've managed Constantine since his debut, and this is now his shining light. And we work closely with Jack and Marley Dan around this around Constantine, and it's been a fight that we've been able to get secured for him against Michael Ballingall's Matthew King. Now, Michael Ballingall's brilliant trainer from Portsmouth. Obviously got his son Michael McKinson's sons and Lucas Ballingall are top fighters. So he doesn't manage or train mugs. So King apparently is taking over 120 people from Portsmouth to Plymouth. So it's going to be some atmosphere.
Hope the security's good.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I do expect Constantine to be our 48th champion.
It's really good, and like you say, Marley down there, Shane Radmore, Richard Griggs is down there as well.
Yeah.
Jack Green, they're doing a great job down there. They really deserve the credit down in Plymouth, and it's undersold down there. There's some good boys down there. Bradpool, he makes his comeback. Bradpool comes against Patrick Palacis. Plastic.
Yeah.
He come back again. Brad obviously come back off the Tyler Denny loss again, just getting back like Linus, get straight back out.
He was disappointed with himself in that fight, and I think it's fair that we were all disappointed that. But yeah, so he wants to get that out of the way, and then we'll get this fight done, and then we'll make some sort of decisions on which route to go. But at the moment, it's just get out, shake that off, because he just didn't throw enough in that fight with Tyler Denny. First time in his career, really, he's not really thrown enough, and again, we're saying the same about Darren Seeley last week. It's the same. If you don't throw enough punches, you're not going to win fights.
Absolutely. So good to see him back. And again, credit for him to jump in straight back in.
Absolutely.
Billy Stanbury always brings great support. We've talked about him many times on this show. He comes out again. He's against George Rogers, who we talked about earlier. Good performance should be from Billy. He's moved along nicely. Josh, should be a good fight, that?
Yeah, no, you said Billy brings good support, fun to watch. Yeah, it's generally been
And I
good so
think
far.
he's really talented, and plans are. I mean, I'll be managing Billy going forward, and we're going to build him. I put him a very similar-ish type strategy to Ellis Stewart.
Yeah, bring along nicely.
Nicely, slowly, correct, build at the right time. Billy Stanbury is going to be winning titles. He will be the star of boxing in that area. He will. But we're going to do it the right way. And he could bring televised boxing back to the area one day. And I think he's a star. But we've got to do it the right pace, right time.
Another one down there as well. We've seen Harry Webb, obviously on our show earlier on in March. He's moved along fantastically. He's improving all the time. He takes on Jordan Granham. Again, just building for Harry at the moment, Steve. Just building him towards titles, and great team and always improving. Yeah,
I mean, he's had his opponent got stopped at the weekend, so he's now coming up 2 weight categories for Jordan. So, and we know Jordan can be dangerous. We know he gets his wins. But Harry, there's no thing in taking the fight, because they're proper fighting people. And with Harry, we're developing him. It's part of the management role. We're going to make the right moves at the right time for the right reasons. That's it.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him back out. We've got Lewis Everson. He takes up Bermain Sanchez. Lewis Everson, Josh, always brings excitement. He's a fan-friendly, come forward, throwing bombs, haymaker. Bermain Sanchez, we know, is tough. Almost the immovable object. Should be a good performance for Everson.
Yeah, he also throws back. It's a really good card, to be fair, down in Plymouth. I'm not making the journey myself.
No, we're sending Steve out.
Big Steve's going. It's a really good fight, really good card. Yeah, one I would ideally like to go to, but...
Yeah, it's a really, really good card. If you haven't got a ticket, make sure you get down there. We've got Dylan Courtley. He takes on Robbie Chapman. Dylan's obviously been home. He's done some away. He's been back home again. He's stopped. He's come back again. But that's a good fight for Dylan. Robbie Chapman, as we know.
Tough. I mean, that's a big step up for Dylan Courtley.
Absolutely.
Big step up. And, I think... Robbie he went the distance with Linus at the weekend. So, Robbie is a very, very, very talented fighter.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect test for Dylan at this stage, I guess. So
absolutely. And then making his debut, Aaron Bird, very, very good amateur. He takes on Christian Stonaski, I believe.
Looking forward to seeing Aaron, who we manage. It's his debut fight, but the British UK journeyman didn't want to go in with him, so it'll make it a bit easier if he goes and stops this lad. It'll make it a lot harder to match him. But but he's a very talented boy, and looking forward to watching him. Yeah,
very good amateur. So that's a great show down in Plymouth this weekend. If you haven't got your tickets already, then get in contact with Greenstar Promotions. I'm sure they can sort you out some tickets for it. Gentlemen, I think that wraps up everything we've had a lot to talk through this week. Ring Talk, we don't know when it will be. We're not doing it every week at the moment because we've got no shows coming up. So keep your eye out for the next one soon. The Predictions League will be coming out on the socials when we don't have a Ring Talk. Don't forget, comment on all the main Goodwin Boxing social channels for it to be counted. Gentlemen, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.